Beneath the shimmering surface of our oceans, there's a tiny but extraordinary creature you might never have noticed, the sea urchin. At first glance, they look like just spiky sea balls, but trust me, these little guys are crucial to the balance of life underwater. Let's start with where they live. Sea urchins make their homes along the ocean floor, from shallow coral reefs to the deepest, darkest waters. They use hundreds of tiny tube feet, yes, basically little suction cups, to cling to rocks and coral, even when waves are crashing overhead. By day, they hide out in cracks and crevices, and by night, they come out to munch on algae. And that's where things get really interesting. If sea urchins weren't around, algae would completely take over, smothering coral reefs and destroying the habitats that so many ocean creatures depend on. In other words, sea urchins are like the silent gardeners of the sea. But their anatomy is just as cool. Their spines are actually made of calcium carbonate, the same stuff that makes up coral skeletons. Underneath those spines is a tough shell called a test, which keeps their organs safe. And here's my favorite part. On the underside, they've got this wild structure called Aristotle's lantern. It's like a 5-toothed jaw that lets them scrape algae off rocks with crazy precision. Talk about being built for the job. Now, let's talk about how they keep the urchin family tree going. Sea urchins reproduce by releasing eggs and sperm into the water. It's called external fertilization. After that, the tiny larvae drift along with ocean currents for weeks, feeding and growing before finally dropping down to settle on the seafloor. When they do, they transform into mini versions of adult sea urchins and start their own journey as the reef's caretakers. Ecologically, these guys are way more important than most people realize. In a healthy reef, sea urchins keep algae under control, but if their numbers drop, maybe from pollution, overfishing, or disease, algae goes wild and the coral can actually die off. So, protecting sea urchins? It's basically protecting the entire ocean. Here's the bottom line. Even the smallest creatures can play some of the biggest roles in nature. Next time you're snorkeling or diving and you spot one of these spiny little guardians, just remember, beneath those sharp spines is a quiet hero.